Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I'm super excited for my guest today because she is just such a strong, amazing woman. And we sat down for coffee a couple of weeks ago and she just shared a lot with me. And I am just truly honored that she said yes to being on a podcast today with me. Her name is Carla Williams. She is a suicide loss survivor. She lost her daughter Kelcie to suicide on January 3rd, 2025. That day changed everything for her. Grief has reshaped her life, but she carries Kelcie's memory forward with love and purpose. By sharing her story, she hopes to break the silence around suicide loss and remind others that they are not alone. So thank you, Carla, for being my guest today.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, no problem. I know that you have been through a lot, and I just wanted you just to kind of take us back to, the journey that you've been through in your life and how it shaped you to be just recently you had the walk awareness for your daughter. You've had all these things that you keep moving forward. And I know that your life has not been easy. So share with us kind of how you have kept going through all the hard times that you've been through.
There would be two main things. The first one is my religious beliefs. That has definitely kept me on the right path, and my children. My children are a driving force in why I've kept moving forward. So
I love that. I know that it seems like when we have hard things that we go through, it seems like as long as you have a strong faith and a firm foundation, that really helps you go through everything. We may not always understand why things that we have happen to us, or why things happen to other people that we love, and the hurt and the grief. But the fact that we have something like our faith to rely on, I think is so important. And I love that you brought up your children as well. You are a mother of 4, correct?
That's correct.
And so you have your oldest daughter, and then your daughter, Kelcie, she was a twin, and then you have your young twin with her and her brother, and then you have your youngest daughter. And so just talk to us about what it's been like. I mean, I know that you've had a lot of loss in your life and you've had some grief and stuff. And so just kind of take us back to, what you would love to share your story with for people to understand that by sharing your story that you're helping to break the silence?
There's my experience has been there's a huge stigma around suicide, for one. There's a lot that believe, if somebody, there had to be a reason they did that. And my experience is just that mental health plays such a huge part in losing those to suicide. My daughter, she struggled with mental health, and we had a very hard time getting her the help that she needed. This goes back quite a few years, and we talked, and I thought through talking to her that would help get her through those dark times, but it runs much deeper than that. And I think that's something that people don't understand is just there's a chemical component to it, and that gets overlooked. And there's life experience. There's things that we all keep hidden that we don't bring to the surface. And I think there needs to be a better understanding that these are people we love, people we care deeply about. And it's not just me. There's so many people out there that have suffered the same loss that I have. And just reaching out, I think that's another category that doesn't get touched on very often, is people often don't know what to say to someone that's lost a loved one like that. And what I have to say to that is just a simple, I'm thinking of you, whether it's a text, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a card. A lot of people have gone silent, and I think it's just due to a lack of understanding. Yeah, I just wish more would reach out and not be afraid to ask about my daughter. What kind of person was she? She was so much more than the mental health and the sadness. She was a beautiful individual. She had a soft heart. She just never met a stranger. She had more friends than I could count, lots of best friends, lots of people that loved her. And I just want people to know that they were people too. And even though they left the world in a not so common manner, it's still, they deserve to be honored, they deserve to be remembered. And yeah, it's about the sum of it.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. In fact, for the ages of 15 years old to 29 years old, suicide is actually the third leading cause of death. And the challenges that we face with society and things like that, like it's so different than when we were younger. Like the social media, the technology. Whilst technology is good for some reasons, there's a lot of things too that people like. It's the comparison, the judgment, all of the things that social media and technology can bring about as well. And so I think that, by talking about it and sharing about it, it's helping others as well to show, it's okay to talk about it. And the stigma about mental health, I've shared with you, I have a loved one who has mental health issues. I actually have several people within my immediate family with mental health issues. And what people don't understand is because you can't see what's going on, they can't, it's not like the disability or, the parts that they can't see, they think that person's fine, but they don't understand the chemical imbalance in their brain, and that they're struggling to put things together. They're struggling trying to find out, like, does this make sense? The feelings that they have, all of these types of things. It's really hard to understand. And living with somebody, with that imbalance, it's hard, and you have to educate yourself as much as you can, and try to provide all what the help that you can provide. But at the end of the day, no matter how much you talk about it, things like that, there's some things that they just don't want to share with you, or they don't feel that things are right, or they don't want to like, for me particularly in my case, and I'm not saying it's for your case, but the thoughts that they have in their head are so crazy to them, they feel are so crazy that they think that anybody else would think that they were crazy if they told you what the thoughts are in their head. And then so there's a really, just the mental health alone is a huge concern. And I think that it's something that we truly need to figure out a way to help others with it. Trying to get the resources, trying to get a loved one to get the help, immediate help, and things like that is hard. Um, and so I thank you for sharing about it and telling your story. And I would love for you to share, because we've had a great conversation about your daughter, Kelcie, when we talked a couple of weeks ago. Can you just kind of share like what kind of person she was? And so that others can, what she loved to do, like I love the part where you said she never met a stranger. So kind of share with us a little bit about who she was.
Well, she was always my quiet child. You never quite knew what she was thinking, but she had a very infectious smile. You definitely knew when she was laughing or happy, and I loved that about her. They always thought it was funny to her and her twin always thought it was funny to catch me messing up on a word, and that would just be the funniest thing to them, and then years later would go by and they'd be like, remember that time when you said this? And so she never forgot anything, and she was a very hard worker. She hustled from the time she was 16. She had her first job while going to school, and she worked every day since then. you know um she did have a lot of friends. She had friends online, whether it was through gaming. She had friends that she worked with. She had friends that she'd meet somebody at Walmart and they'd start talking in line. So there was just, she wasn't uncomfortable talking to anybody, you know. Like I said, she had a big heart. She definitely gave her last dime. If you needed $5, she'd give you 5.25 and call it good. You know, she. I'm trying to think. Um, she had a very soft side to her. She could be sensitive in a lot of ways, which I appreciated that about her. You could have a heart to heart talk with her and know that you were getting nothing but a true, genuine response, even if it was hard. She wasn't one to, give you smoke and mirrors. She just called it like she saw it. And I loved that. I love that. There's so many things I love about her. And I wish more people could be like her. I wish more were transparent. She did hide when she was suffering, but she made sure that when she was around you, she put a smile on your face. And I miss that. I miss that every day. So, but that's just to sum her up. Those are some of the things that really stand out.
I love what you said about the fact that she just loved to put a smile on everybody's face and that she had no filter is kind of what I took from it. You know,
Yeah.
like I said, I can totally relate. My loved one who suffers from things like that. He's like always says, "I'm sorry, I don't have a filter. I'm gonna tell you what's like it is," and that's okay because you want that honesty. And I think that because they feel that they can be so honest with you that they expect that from others as well, to just to be real and be who you really are, because that's what they feel that they need, and they show that the same to you. And I love what you shared about like she just would love to put a smile on anybody's face. And I was laughing when you said the words like I can. I had a speech impediment when I was younger, and I also, sometimes don't say words right. And so when the family makes fun of me, it's like, okay, well, that's a good memory, right? Like you can make fun of me and laugh, right?
Yeah,
She also loved to draw, correct?
she did. She did. She was a very good. She could have been an artist if she had wanted to, but yes, she loved to draw for those that were special to her. That was like her gift to them, was for her to do a drawing. And I did find a binder full of her drawings not too long ago. And, she was really into tattoos as well. And she could have very easily been drawn for a tattoo artist, that she just had a certain skill level to her that was above a lot of people. So yeah, that was nice to find.
I love that you said that when people were special to her, that she would draw for them. That was her, like her act of kindness, her way of saying that she loved them. I think that's so important, and I love that that creativity and that she had, and that she used that creativity and that talent to just give her love to others. That was pretty amazing. I know that it's been hard for you though. It's not even been a year yet and it's been really hard, but you've done a lot of great things, like speaking out about it. And, recently you had that whole walk that you participated in, and kind of tell us how you found that and how you put together an amazing team just to go there and walk in her honor.
Yeah, it was something that I had been looking for ways to speak out about suicide. I wanted more awareness for me, for those around me. And I had just started searching online, activities. I did search for walks and things like that. And I came across the Out of the Darkness, and it's sponsored by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And they do walks mainly between September and November, with October being Suicide Awareness Month. And um, it was something that was important to me. And as I spread the word to people around me, people were just like, I want to do it. I want to do it. And it amazed me that in a very short amount of time, I was able to put together a team of right around 40 people. And it was just something that it showed me the support that I have. You don't always talk to people on a regular basis, but for those people to show up and let me know that they're there for me, they were there for Kelcie, and they're there for my family, it spoke volumes. And so it'll be something that I do on an annual basis. I was asked to speak at next year's event, which I felt honored. I thought, it's something that I want to talk about. It's not always easy. It's quite hard sometimes, but I I do want her name remembered, and I want it remembered for positive things and not just the way she left. So,
I think that that's beautiful. And I was just going to ask you if you were going to do it annually, but you said you're going to start doing it. That's like you're going to be your tradition to honor her. And what I also wanted to, you took a while for you to find these things. Do you find that there's not a lot of resources out there for people who are struggling with mental health, not only for the person themselves, but for the families as well?
that is correct. Um, I am fortunate enough to have a therapist that specializes in grief therapy, but outside of that, I've struggled to find other mothers or families. I've had to really do my homework to find these support groups. There are a handful of them that I've come across through Facebook, or I've read a lot of books since she's passed. And, there are some helpful pieces of information in those books as far as who to reach out to. But if you're not a reader, you wouldn't know they're there, you know? So I do wish that there was a little bit more for when you do go through that there were more resources, that there was more talk about it, that it wasn't so much, it feels like it happened and then now you move forward with your life. Now you just keep it in the silence and you continue with your life. And I don't feel that should be the norm. So,
No.
yeah, I do wish there had been more made available.
Yeah, I think so as well. I know, like when I'm not sure how long that your daughter was diagnosed with the mental health issues that she had. I know it's a struggle too, just to get somebody diagnosed with those, because, you know, a lot of times it's just like it's depression, but is it depression or is it a chemical imbalance? Is it something more? Could it be bipolar disorder? And then there's bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 or schizophrenic. There's all of these things, and a lot of people don't talk about them. A lot of people, a lot of times, if you are having, depression or things like that, the doctors will just put you on one medication, but not really find out what really is wrong. You have to do your due diligence. And I like, for my loved one that I have, it was several doctor's appointments, several medications, sometimes at once. We're up to 11 different medications, going through psychologist after psychologist, and finding the different ones. When you get to one, you get comfortable, and then they quit or they leave, or your insurance doesn't take them anymore. And there's just so many loopholes that makes it really, really hard. And I think that our medical system needs to be improved, especially around the mental health, because, and it's nothing against people who are dealing with cancer, because I know that, we've we have lots of us who may have personally dealt with cancer, and there's loved ones that we have who've dealt with cancer. So I'm not putting anything down, but when there's all these things, when there's something with cancer and things like that, but when it's mental health, I know I've struggled to find things for that myself, and I think that there really needs to be more awareness of it. And it seems like mental health, people who are diagnosed with mental health, has rapidly increased since the pandemic. And I think that there's a lot that we can do for it. It's just putting it together, figuring it out. Also, because we are not therapists ourselves, we are not licensed. It's like only so much we can do. But wow, what a thing that we can create if we could create something to help these people.
Yes, absolutely. And that was our experience. Was she would find a therapist and it wouldn't be the right fit. And then we would try to get her into somebody else. And she was very good at hiding what she went through. So the therapist would be like, well, I think you've done well. You've made great progress and there's no need to further treatment. And that wasn't the case. That was somebody that should have stuck with her and kept up on her. She went through the psychiatrist with medication, and same thing, was on 8, 9 medications at one time, and would express that she doesn't feel well, and they would just increase the dose. We, last year at this time, we tried to get her in, and there was a 4-month wait list to see a therapist. Or we called the insurance, they gave us a list of providers. Several of them were no longer no longer in network, or there was a huge waiting list, or there was one that she had been a patient with that said because it had been more than 6 months since she'd be seeing, that she started as a new patient all over again, and there was a wait for that. And I thought, their only suggestion was to call 988, the suicide hotline. And even with that, she was afraid, like you said, that they're going to think I'm crazy, and she's like, I'm not crazy, Mom, I'm just struggling. And I knew it, but like you said, we're not therapists. And even though I see it firsthand and I could tell somebody for her what she's going through, I can only do so much. My hands are tied, she's an adult. And she has to speak on her own behalf. But yes, there's a very big loophole. For all the talk about mental health, there's definitely not the support when you really need it.
Had Kelcie always dealt with, like, how long has she started dealing, like, with the mental health? Was it did it all of a sudden come on over a period of time, or was it when she was little as well, younger?
There was a traumatic situation within our family, and it started shortly after that. So she was about 14. She was 16 before she was actually in therapy. But that was the first time she was told, she's doing great. I don't think there's any residual effects. I don't think she needs to continue her sessions at this point. And then from that point forward, she had some other situations in her life that were quite traumatic, and she just didn't speak on them. She was afraid to tell people. She shared a lot with me, but I could only take it so far. And um and then when she did try to reach out, they put her in a psych ward, and that was very difficult because she just kept saying, "Mom, I'm not crazy." She just says, "I'm just struggling," and I keep saying that, but that was where she was at. So naturally she was afraid to speak up again because she didn't want to be 5150'd, and so it's just such a fine line between somebody that just needs to talk about what they're going through and somebody that needs to be hospitalized.
Mhm. Yeah, I can totally understand that. And that's the part that struggles, like that our loved one can tell us something or share something with us, but we can't always be there, right? That we're not there when they're talking to the therapist. And so then it's like there's a gap of information missing. And so then we every day see, and I found that, sometimes we, like for me, I was lucky in some cases where I was able to like say, hey, can I go into the doctor's appointments? And they're like, no. And I'm like, no, can't. This is what this person's asking for. And they would allow me to go in there. But it's hard. It's hard to get there. And it's hard to even have, especially right after COVID or the pandemic, it was hard for them. They didn't want two people in the hospital or the doctor's office it was so many things. And it was like, no, I know you're seeing just a snapshot of a 15-minute window of what I see every single day. And to kind of go through that, it is really frustrating. It's hard and it's such a struggle. And I'm sorry that you had to go through all of that. I'm sorry. And I
Yeah, it's
wish
a
that,
learning process.
yeah. For sure. It is such a learning process. And sometimes I think about it. I interview a lot of people on my podcast. And there was one person I just interviewed, and they went back to school like at 45 or 50 years old just to get a degree to help because of their own struggles. And it's like, do I go back to school just to become a doctor to help people? Because I feel like there's such a need. And it's like, well, I can't complain if I'm not doing anything about it. Right. So what can I do for it? Right. Uh,
Right.
but yeah.
That's something that I have been put into contact with a few people that have experienced the same loss. And I've been told that I'm easy to talk to, and I try to be a good listener. Um, and so that is reassuring in some ways because I know there's times where I just need somebody to listen. I don't need advice. I don't need them to give me an opinion. I just need somebody to listen about what I'm feeling at the moment. And I am happy to be that person to others. And so through mutual friends, I've been put into contact with like 3 or 4 other moms, and just being able to be there for them the way I need someone to be there for me has been, I don't know if the right word's rewarding, but it's brought a level of comfort to me to know that I was able to be there for them. So I do know what you mean when it's like, how do you become a part of the solution and not just complain about the problem?
Mhm. I love that you found a group of people that and it's sad, and I get the right word isn't rewarding, like what is the right word, but just to have that support and that you have that connection with somebody, with others who have gone through the same thing. And while it's a very sad situation to go through, we all end up, we all have an end date, but the type of and how our end date happens is where you don't have that comfort as much as if somebody died in a car crash or, cancer or things like that, which I'm not saying is like any less painful. But the fact that, like you said, there's people don't like to talk about suicide, or that they lost their loved ones to suicide. It's like, and like there's like, don't touch it. But I think that the more that we talk and bring awareness to it, I think it's important too. Um, I just, I feel like the pain that you're going through. I just, I see you sharing about it. I see you, and I love that you're talking to others, and I love that you have a support group or a network of people that you can talk to, and just let's talk about our, and have somebody just listen instead of giving advice, or vice versa. Um, and I don't even know what the word would be, but not. It's like trying to turn our pain into some type of purpose, like that. And it's so hard to understand it. And I know that you're a woman of faith, and it's like, why, God? But then it's like, at the same time, it's okay, God, what is this happened, but what is it going to, how are you using me to help others? Right.
Correct. And that's still a question that I ponder very often, is what is there to be learned in all this, or what am I supposed to take away? And honestly, I don't know that there's an answer to that yet.
Mm-hmm.
It is still very fresh. Some may say, oh, it's been 10 months, but for me, it's like, it's only been 10 months and it feels like yesterday still. But, if I am able to be of some help to somebody else struggling, then I'm okay being that person, because I know I have a few that I can turn to when I'm the one struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, it's what more could you ask for when you're going through a hard time than to have somebody that you can turn to.
I would say when you said it was, it's already been 10 months or only 10 months, either way, 10 months. Um, I would say that I want to give you major like props, I guess you could say, because I've had several people on my podcast. Some didn't talk about it for 18 plus years after losing somebody to suicide, or longer. They've kept it kind of squashed down, and they didn't deal with the grief or the pain, or didn't even share their story. And so the fact that it doesn't matter though how long it's been, the fact that you are talking about it and sharing that you can help others, maybe you can, I don't know. It's just, it's inspiring. And I just appreciate, no matter, the length of time that you're still sharing about it, that you found a walk within a couple of months after her loss. And that, the celebration of life that you did for her was pretty amazing. Like, you honored her. And I think that the fact that you keep talking about her and keep sharing about her is to honor the life that she lived. It's not to talk about, yes, there was an end date, but it was who she was and her memory that you want everybody to remember her by. And I think that that's what's important.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were talking about ways to remember her, with the holidays coming up. That's kind of a bittersweet time. But something we've decided to do is to light it's not a luminary, it's the ones that float.
Oh,
What
yeah.
am I trying to think?
Yeah, the pond, like in the water.
Yes. And so we're going to go to a lake, up near where we were last year, and light some of those in her memory, and say some nice words about her and what we remember. And it's like, I feel good about that. At first I didn't even want to celebrate the holidays. It's too much. But then on the flip side, I think I would regret not doing something in her memory. So it's kind of like I said, it's bittersweet, looking forward to doing it, but sad at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I would love to know, like, do you ever feel like in this last 10 months, have you ever felt like she was present with you? Like, you've been doing something like the walk or anything that you guys have ever done together as a family, or you just sitting there and the stillness? Do you ever feel her presence?
I do. I do. I had a situation that was, some will be like, oh, it's just a coincidence, but she purchased a computer chair for me last Christmas. And it was such a big deal for her to come up and put it together for me. So I told her, I said, that's fine. Well, a couple months ago, I was around the chair and I got up and stepped away. And when I turned to look, the chair had gone all the way around the opposite direction. And it was just, I had to kind of giggle because I thought, I believe in signs. I believe in, little things that bring them to mind and stuff. But it was just kind of a moment of, I got you. I know you're there, just because the chair was such a big deal to her. And so to see it do that, I thought there was no Bible explanation for it to spin around the way it did, but it made me smile. And anything belonging to her or, relating to her that makes me smile is a very welcome moment. So I've had that. And then I had a dream not too long ago where I don't remember what we were laughing at, but she just had one of those laughs that come from your gut, and just the biggest smile on her face. And I thought, those are the images that I want to see, And so if that's what's coming to me in my dreams or being presented around me, whatever it be, is when it's a happy moment, it's a very welcome, happy moment.
I think that that's amazing. When you talked about the chair, I got chills because I was like, did she like purposely, like her spirit spin it around just to be like, hey, mom, I'm here?
Yeah, yeah. And I just sat there and I said, I see you. So.
I think that that's amazing. And I just wanted just to say again that, I appreciate you sharing about her. And I appreciate you just taking taking the first steps to not let it like hide or, you know, sh- uh, just to share about it and share the awareness that you did a lot for her. You did all that you could for her. And that, there is still the hard parts of our mental health system that really need solutions. And but you did the best that you could, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, as we wrap up, though, I would love to just have you think of a word, a phrase, a book to read, or a song, anything that comes to mind that you think will help others to take action today in order to help them refine and shine.
It may not sound like it, but I have a shirt that says it's okay not to be okay. And I think people just need to accept that not everyone is on the same path as them. Not everybody's experiencing the same walk of life. And that, for me, telling somebody that is that permission to let them know you're allowed to feel what you need to feel when you need to feel it. And that was a big deal for me, was just knowing that it's okay not to be okay, but that it's only for a moment. You take those moments and you reflect on them and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do the next time this situation presents itself, or when I have an opportunity to, again, talk to somebody, share my story. Just normalizing the emotions that we go through. I just think people need to be more understanding of that. And I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it absolutely answers my question. It's whatever you felt is important, but you brought up the good point that I love how you shared that. It's okay not to be okay. Because what we do so many times as a society and everything, we just like, how are you doing? We can have the worst day ever and we say, I'm fine, but we're not fine. And we're hurting inside, we're crushing it. And when we keep pushing down those emotions, it shows up later. It could show up in back pain. It can show up in health issues, all of these other things. So when we say, I'm not okay right now, that's okay to say that, because that means we're dealing with something. And maybe that can lead to a conversation of what's going on, depending on how we trust the person or not. But that's okay. It's okay not to always think that you have to be 100% all the time, because even Jesus wept. The shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. Jesus went away to be alone. Jesus went, and so it's okay to talk, and then to talk to people, and it's okay to say, hey, I'm not doing well. And in fact, it should be encouraged, instead of saying, like, I don't want to be a burden on somebody if things aren't going right. It's not being a burden when you have that relationship with somebody, you trust them, and say, hey, I'm not okay. And to have that, get that help and that resources that you need. That's what more people need to be able to do, is to trust somebody to say, I'm not okay. It's okay.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's a pretty amazing for you to share that. And I think that that's probably one of the things that a lot of people don't share about when they have the mental health, or loved ones with mental health. Like when you're trying to balance everything and you're trying to do all these things for them, to help them, cheer them up and stuff. But sometimes we have to just let them sit and be like, okay, you're not okay. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. But not to be like brushing it aside. Let them have that space to talk. I think it's important. So,
Exactly.
well, thank you so much for all that you've shared today. And I can't wait to see the walk that you do next year and how big it's going to be. And I just think that together, me thinking about things, and you thinking about things, of what we can maybe one day do another future podcast and say, hey, we created this, or we're going to start this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.